Hello and thanks for joining us on the KEYPOINT TV show, which comes your way every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Catch a repeat same time on Sundays. We are here to talk about Pan-Africanism. People will be asking the question, what does it mean? So I'm going to give you a very brief description. We'll be looking at some of its core values, but we have an expert in the studio with over 4 decades of experience that is going to share his experiences, his insight, and also give us more knowledge and understanding about the topic. So to define Pan-Africanism in the short stem is the political, cultural, and social movement that promote the unity, solidarity among African people and African people of descent in the diaspora. Now, when we come to the core values, we are looking at the shared identity, we are looking at unity and cooperation, we are looking at liberation and self-determination, and also cultural pride. And my guest will be showing you something written boldly on his cap when I introduce him. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
So we are going to dig deeper on the topic Pan-Africanism today, its evolving role and the future ahead. And as our special guest, His Excellency Ambassador Brigadier General Dr. Wallace W. Williams. He is an international diplomat, an entrepreneur, an academia, a public speaker, and a Pan-African reform advocate with over 4 decades of service. He currently serves as the Honorary Consul General of Antigua and Barbuda to Nigeria. His work spans diplomacy, leadership, energy innovation, digital finance, education, advocacy, and cultural unity across Africa and the Caribbean. His titles, his experiences go beyond what I've been able to summarize here. So I would ask him to pardon me for that. And we are having this program on the margin of the 9th Pan-African Congress being held currently in Lomé from December 8 to 12, 2025. Thank you, Your Excellency, for coming.
Thank you very much, Jerry.
Could you tell us what is written on your cap?
It's proudly African.
Thank you.
And that sends the message right across Africa. I'm proudly African, and we should all be proudly African. As a matter of fact, I want to change the name of your TV from New World TV to African New World TV.
We'll see if we can work on that.
Yes, tell your bosses that if we are going to be promoting Africa, everything in media should start promoting Africa's narrative. It's a fact, because we need to be telling our own stories. We have to move away from westernized, colonized, neo-colonized terms for Africa now. So since we are here in Lomé, I want to make one change. I want African New World TV or New World Africa TV. Okay. Yeah, good.
Thank you, Excellency. So first of all, as the topic suggests, we are going to be talking about Pan-Africanism. So
yes,
I want you to tell us in your interpretation or in your understanding of Pan-Africanism, what is it today?
What it is today. Pan-Africanism means, and I will tell you, it's Africacy. Africans doing it for themselves, by themselves. We've got to move away from systems that were implanted in us and on us to keep us separated. Whether it's French, whether it's Portuguese, whether it's Spanish, whether it's Dutch, whether it's German, it was all a plan. And that plan started in 1884 in the Berlin Conference to separate us and exploit us and ensure that we never unite. So by the imposition of language, by the imposition of religion, by the imposition of history. We haven't learned our history. We learned the histories of all these people, of these different colonial countries, right, to separate us. We are not countries, we are states. Okay. We were nation states that were living together before 1884. And now what we have is a fragmented continent based...
production of the borderlines.
Yeah, the borderlines. I said it just about 2 months ago. I was in Eswatini as the keynote speaker at the Conference of Traditional Leaders. And I'm a traditional chief as well, right? So at that conference, I said, let's tear up symbolically the Berlin Conference paper that separate us. And why I'm saying that is because I want people to join with me, people of note, chiefs, kings, leaders. Tear the damn thing up and show the world that we no longer want that. And that symbolically starts to tell us that we must now have a confederation of states of Africa.
Yes.
a United States of Africa. But I don't want to similarly say USA.
Yes.
So we might be Confederation of African States, 2025, or let's do it in 2026. But tear up the damn border that Berlin Conference did on us and for us, and this is where we are today. That's why having the Pan-African Congress is important, but we want to have from these Congress here this year in Lomé, we must have some sorts of decision-making on bringing Africa together.
This actually draws me into my very next question. You did
Yes.
mention certain foreign countries that have
Not certain. We know who they are. We know who they are. They are France, they are Britain, they are Netherlands, Dutch, they are Germans. They massacred too many of our people. They enslaved too many. Let's speak truth to power, Jerry.
Okay.
Let's not hide behind countries. No, we know who they are. Expose them.
Okay. So I think, first of all, with the explanation you've given,
Yes.
I believe it has to start with decolonizing the mind.
Absolutely
so
correct.
In your perspective or in your view, I mean, someone who has been in the fields of diplomacy and leadership, what are some of the strategies, maybe two per se, that you feel maybe Africans need to get exposed to for them to start decolonizing their minds?
Right. The first thing is, let us have a common language.
Okay.
It has been proposed, and I think it's at the AU, that the common language has been proposed as a lingua franca for the continent, Kiswahili.
Okay.
Let's have that. Secondly, let's have a removal of all the borders, and seriously, we must remove the borders. I mean, I was just speaking to my protocol officer. I said, you resemble the president of my chamber, the African International Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where I serve as the global chairman. And I said, I am stunned because you look exactly like Dr. Mark Darko. And I pulled up the picture, and they both are the same. And I now realize that there was really no border between what is now called Togo today and Ghana of yesterday. And Kwame, Kasi, you know, the person I've been speaking to, Kwaku, it's all Ghanaian influenced, you know, or Ghanaian same names.
Yes.
So much so that I told him that maybe your father has some questions to answer, or your great-grandfather, because the DNA is so similar. So we need to have a removal of those borders. We also need removal of visas and visa restriction. We need a standard united digital currency because we're now in the digital world.
Exactly.
So let's have a standard united digital currency, which I have been working on together with Dr. Mark Darko and others, so that we have a currency that we use for trading, right? That is similar. As a matter of fact, it's a reference point to the euro. The euro started when all of the currencies took a dive. Greek, lira, it's Italian. And so they recognize that, look, we need to unite for trading, and we can do the same. So the classic example is already, and what happened after they put the trading platform of euro, it now became a currency.
Yeah, exactly.
So Africa can now evolve the same way. We now start our own standard united digital African currency contract to trade in the African free trade area, and that now can become a currency. Why do you think they killed Gaddafi? Because he was already setting up a standard currency based on gold.
I was watching a documentary just in the office this morning with regards
Yes, no, and that's why they killed him. They killed him for two reasons. One, he was uniting Africa based on currency and the gold and the resources that we have under our feet, right? And he was going to trade on that currency and his oil. Everywhere on the continent that you see disunity, it has to do with mineral resources, and it has to do with continuing the division of our peoples. That has to stop.
Yes. So you spoke earlier on in your submission about unity.
Yes.
I'm looking at it from the long term. What are some of the key priorities in terms of unity now? Things that Africa needs to do so
Right.
we can say there's unity coming back to
Yes.
Africa.
So let's use what we have as an established institution right now for unity. What is that institution? It's the African Union. But are they playing the role? Absolutely not. And I think they must restructure that stupid organization, the African Union. Yes, because what are they not doing? Let me give you an example.
Okay.
The European Union, right? Don't the European Union form a buffer between foreign investment, foreign contracts, and the Union? What is the African Union doing? What happens? The individual states, because I don't call them countries, sign single contracts. Like, let's say with the Chinese, you don't even know what the contract says. But they call them to Beijing, they call them to the US, to New York, they call them to all these places, and everybody runs for the optics.
This actually resonates with the AU Debt Conference they actually had in Lomé, I think somewhere in September or October, where I had a guest from the Caribbean who also said the exact same thing.
Well, we see it. We see it. Those from us from the Caribbean see it and wonder, what is the African Union doing? You are supposed to sign contracts on behalf of the states of Africa. Why? Because you are the buffer. We have enough weight as the African Union is worth. If you put the economies of Africa together under the African Union, we're worth trillions. So if you're coming and you want to invest in every single country, right, and you want to put the countries in debt, they should not be put in debt as individual states. I don't even want to call them countries, as I said. And the African Union should sit down and say, okay, you're coming to Africa. All right, you speak with us. Which particular state do you want to go to? Is it Zambia? Is it Togo? You want
every
copper?
State is rich in different aspects.
And they're rich in different aspects. All the states of Africa have trillions worth in resources. You understand? Yeah. Whether it's oil, whether it's gas, whether it's minerals. And you sign on behalf. Don't put those current states into debt. You sign on their behalf. You get Chinese experts to speak Chinese and look at contracts. You get French or whoever, and you now sit down and say, Mr. Man, you come and sit down with us, and we will sign on behalf of the African Union states, which is what the African Union is for. We've got to get rid of all these institutions that ignore us. What the hell is UNGA? UNGA, United Nations General Assembly. Once an African comes to speak, the place is empty. Not so? Why are you fighting to be on the UN Security Council? I say, let's get UNGA, African National General Assembly. Let's have that, African Nations General Assembly. Let's get our institutions of our own. We have to start doing that. That is what is going to unite us, because we are not going to be walking up and down New York, Washington, Beijing, Paris, London, for what? You are ignored, always ignored. Form those things into our own institutions. I propose, for example, what is SDG 63, 2063? It means nothing to Africans. What we should have is ADGI, African Development Goals Initiative, which I have coined. And that African Development Goals Initiative, we set up yearly plans. Yearly plans. So for all the nations, say the 55, 56, 826 region, let's say next year, and it's peer-reviewed at the end of the year, food security for all, right? Sovereign food security. And everybody works on that. The following year, health for all. Everybody puts money into health for the entire continent, every state. So your money is not being put up what I call white elephant projects, which they shove down our throat. Are we all playing football? No. The following year, let's have, education right up to tertiary level, free of charge for all. Because when we do that, we are uniting the continent. We're bringing the brain power of the continent together. We're bringing the health back together. Okay. All these people like Bill Gates and Melinda Gates and who come to the continent to release all these malaria, mosquitoes, and GMO foods. We don't want those things.
Come back and try to solve the problem.
And then come back. We don't want that. And then you want to put an 8-year program to sterilize our women. Why don't you go and do it in America where you are? You know, I'm angry because, and we should be angry. We should, what is all this about? You just meekly taking vaccines that we don't produce. Do you know what is the content in those? Do you know what, putting a chip in babies in Kenya? That's nonsense. So that's nonsense.
Into a bit part of your diplomatic and military experience.
Yeah.
There has been a conversation, I think, earlier this year or last year about having African representatives at the table.
From which table?
I mean the world table, the global table, whether it's from the UN, United Nations, or whichever associations. They have an argument as to say that those who are even representing the African continent are not doing that in our favor.
Yeah.
But from your experience, what role can Africa play when it comes to geopolitics? Because I'm looking at it at where we wouldn't have an entity or an institution where maybe it's the United States or Germany or France that have the veto power on everything.
Yeah.
If we have a multipolar world, it means everybody's contribution comes together to make that.
But Jerry, let's take an example. Is any African state or the continent inclusive and included in any of those organizations, whether it's the IMF, whether it's the World Bank, whether it's WTO, whether it's UNGA? You know, none of them. And they are ignored and they are excluded, which tells you that you must remain where we want you to remain, and we take advantage of that. When you think of the AES now, they have consolidated a confederation, and they have taken back their resources. And of course, the West, France, and all of them want to kill them because from 8 cents uranium that they were paying, they were selling at $2,000. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
What kind of nonsense is that? You know, that is exploitation to the highest degree. So therefore, they have done the right thing, and they are to be supported. And we must have more confederations in Africa that are going to do the same thing. Neighbors are almost what you will call, look in Tanzania, look in Uganda, look in Kenya. They are all near the borders, similar tribes, similar.
When we cut out the borders.
Yeah, and you cut out the border, we are one family. The United States of America, you can fly from Florida to California. You can drive, no stopping you. It's one United States of America. They all signed the Union. So we must do that too. The African Union must ensure that they now follow the same and set up their own institutions and their own organization. It's time for us to now have pride in ourselves and set up and go about our business under a union, a unity. We have the African Union, but it must be restructured, because if they're not representing the continent, especially with regards to stopping exploitation, debt traps, etc. Every of those foreign countries, what do? They single out a leader, and that's where you are going to.
Yes.
They single out a leader, and they make sure that they have some leverage on him.
Exactly.
Is it that after they have bogged him in New York, and they know what he likes and doesn't like, and then use that as a leverage? Is it because he's part of the Freemasons? They all have something that they hold on them. And those holds is what they use to leverage. And those leverage, and people want to stay in power. People like the attitude of being driven, etc., and have that. But the African Union, if they're going to do their job, everybody must now come to a common standard. Is it that we have a one-term or a two-term as a standard for the different states? Or do we now head towards having a confederation of states of Africa, and we have revolving presidents, even if it comes down to 1 year? But what happens is that they come for a 1-year plan or a 2-year plan or a 5-year plan, which is united.
It could be similar to Asia, where we have the ASEAN.
Yes.
I think it could be something similar in that.
Absolutely correct.
So you spoke earlier on about the IMF and all that. I know economy is one of the very important things that we need in Africa, because if it is better structured, we wouldn't have to be going back every time. Maybe UK-Africa Summit, Russia-Africa Summit, so and so.
Forget that.
So what are some of those reforms, if you could tell us maybe just
So
one?
let's have a common central bank.
Okay.
Right? Common central bank, African Central Bank. Right?
Okay.
Let's have our own economic agendas And those economic agendas are and should and must come out of the African Union, because that's what the European Union has been doing and does. So it's not rocket science. You know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. What did China do to rise economically? They looked inwards. They closed their borders for how many years? About 30 years? Or is it 50 years? Mao Zedong had a 50-year plan. And every single new leader of China, which is strictly controlled, had to follow those plans for the betterment of China. What did they also do? They now made sure and put their labor at the cheapest level to invite everyone in. And what did they do from that? Backward integration, and raise the economics of China. And we can do the same thing. We can say, okay, even India outsourced their digital brain from Mumbai. Yeah, they select a series of bright Indian students. Sometimes when you call, British Airways or one of the, hello, my name is Brian. Yeah. But when I call, I say, what is your real name? Oh, I'm Jaipur. Right? No, but it shows you exactly what we are talking about. So we need to raise our economy. Let's have an African central bank. Let's have, you know, our own investment institutions, right? Let's look inwards. Let's look inwards. Before we look outwards, let's say for export, we trade among ourselves. Exactly. So a trading platform for Africa.
But isn't the AFCTA actually doing that, or they are not functioning?
Well, they are doing that, but it's slow. I think because, you know, they are hindered by a very key thing, which is the ability to trade in one currency. And that is being solved right now. That is what is keeping us back economically. It is about the ability. You must call somebody, a 25-year-old just sitting down in New York, either having cocaine or something of the sort, and then he decides, no, seriously, he decides whether he's going to, through SWIFT, give you that trade, right? And you have almost out of 55 countries, 48 or more currencies, because if you check all the currencies of CFA, each one is still a continent. I wouldn't say, they said 26. I don't believe 26. It's like 48, right? And with that, what is happening? You do not have a united currency to boost your economic output. And if you look inward and have a standard, then you trade among yourselves. It's like what we'll call buy local. Buy local. The Jews, it takes 16 times before the money leaves their people. And we have trillions from the African Americans, from the Caribbean, from the continent, trillions that leaves us, right, and goes to the US, goes to London, Bank of England, etc., before we can trade. And they decide on your trade. And then they weaken your multiple currencies, like what happened in Zimbabwe, like what has happened over time in all the other African states. So we need to look inwards. We need to have a standard currency. We need to have our own central bank, an African central bank, which is what Gaddafi had spoken about. Yes. And you see his son is coming back, and he said he's going to carry on his father's legacy. And that's very important.
This is drawing me into another aspect of it where I feel sometimes when people come up with the bold ideas,
they kill them.
Yes, I mean, there are always traps that have been set for them.
Yes.
I could remember, even if I could divert a bit into football, Balotelli was playing very well for Italy.
Yeah.
It's when he scores, he's an Italian. When he doesn't score, he's from that child from Africa.
Yes.
So racism has also become a part of probably why some of these things don't move.
Yes.
So talking about Pan-Africanism, we spoke about it being something cultural, something social. After the Durban Declaration, if I can pick it from here, it is a UN blueprint against racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, intolerance, and acknowledging legacies of slavery and colonialism. So what strategies or what ways can we adopt things that can protect Africans wherever they are, so that you don't have to necessarily be in Togo to say this. You can still be in the US and say it without fear of being killed or anything.
Right. So what has to happen? let's take one example as you talk about the Durban Declaration.
Yes.
Right there in South Africa, you have a state called Orania.
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Orania.
Only whites.
Whites only. Within the continent, in South Africa, which said that they got rid of apartheid, apartheid hasn't finished. And I suspect, from a military point of view, that the reason why they chose there is to be able to bring in arms, bring in as much as they want, unchecked, where nobody is seen within. You know how easy it is to get around that Cape and then come ashore in Orania and do it. All these things have to be exposed. You have to look ahead and see what kind of plans they have. You have to look and think militarily. So what we have to do is to have a united African military power. We have also all the minerals to be able to develop the things that we need to develop, you know, our own weaponry. We have to get to that point.
We need to move from, resource-rich,
yes,
resource-driven aspects.
Absolutely resource-driven. Rwanda is taking the lead in some way. They're creating lithium batteries. Exactly. So let's go to the Congo. Let's go to all the other states of Africa that have resources and use it as part of the value chain of the state that it's from. I propose, and I always have been propounding, and I'm a local content specialist, and I talk about taking a part of the shareholding of the resources in the community. Okay. Ghana started something, a factory in every community, right? That is a sample of what we need to be able to do. And in that community, what do we do? I talk about the triple S. I don't want any wages. We don't need wages. It's all resources. So we have a stipend that is paid by any investor that comes in. We want a win-win with you, and we also want to have your technology transfer. And we want to have, so we want a stipend, we want a salary, and we want shareholding, right? It's a must. That is a model that we must adopt. With that, we say, okay, yes, come into the continent, come into our community. We don't want you to be degrading our environment. Exactly. We don't want our children to be in mud instead of being in school. We want you to respect our community, respect our resources, respect our people and individuals. Transfer your technology, right? And when you have transferred your technology, we are going to take hold of that technology as a united partnership, and we will make use of it.
It's a very great point, because in my first few years coming to Togo, it is something I realized that when they were doing the construction of the roads, when there's a big machinery that is what, they have to wait for people who, maybe the Chinese, to come all the way there, whereas those expenditures could be used.
Of course, because that is what bleeds the country. That's what bleeds the state. That's what bleeds the continent. If you look all over the continent, there is no transfer of technology. You transfer the technology, you invest, and you sharehold, you salary and you stipend the community. And whether in Dubai, what do? You cannot come into Dubai. Emirati must be a 60% or 70% shareholder, not so?
Yes,
he sits back, he does nothing, but he gets, and his community gets shareholding, a salary. He stays in his big office, but you dare not try to put in any investment there and any equipment there and any technology there, and an Emirati is not a key shareholder in your enterprise. Everyone else, Qatar does it. Libya had that same plan where the community was benefiting.
Yes,
everybody was getting free hospital treatment, free housing, free education, free everything. That's what they wanted to kill, because he was now going to do the same model for Africa. They don't want that in Africa. They want to be resource exploitation. When we come back to the same thing, that France taking uranium at 8 cents and just giving it to a few greedy leaders that come for optics in Paris. Go and hug the president and my papa. What nonsense is that? He's not your papa. He can never be your papa. He is a European, white skin, with a different background than you. and you come and saying, I'm going to see Papa. What nonsense is that? And they put up a house for you in the US, a house for you, and just take care of you and your family and your clan. It's nonsense. It has to stop. That's the new Pan-Africanism that we have to talk about.
Okay. So there is this aspect of the conversation I feel it is important that we touch on. That is the implication or the involvement of women in Pan-Africanism.
Yeah.
From your experience, I don't know if you've worked with some women or some of the
yeah,
initiatives.
well, it's very important. Why? Because women are our nurturers, right? Women have carried the bane of what is happening in Africa to our men, because our men has been emasculated.
Exactly.
Right? Our men has been emasculated. They have been jailed. They have been killed. It is the women who now bear that pain, and it's the women who bear the suffering. Look at Winnie Mandela as an example, right? And Nelson Mandela. They broke her, well, they broke him, or tried to break him, and they tried to break her. But she stood by him. It doesn't matter whether they've fallen out at the end of the day, but she was carrying his pain, his name, and his children, right? And had to do so singularly. When you have women, if you take today now, the woman president of Namibia, she has seen the suffering and decided she will turn things around for her people. And long may she live and continue what she's doing. The woman in Pan-Africanism has a very important role to play in that as mothers, as nurturers, they will carry the movement of Pan-Africanism. Many of them, if you go back to the United States, for example, people like Angela Davis, some of the leading power brokers during the Black Panther era, they were the ones who were fighting on behalf of their men. Is it Shabazz who recently died, or any of the others who show you that we are behind our men, right? Let's take an example. Is it not Michelle Obama who put, I would say, Obama into where he was? Sure. She stood behind him, guided him, guarded him, even if he did not do as he was supposed to do. But if you take that as an example, we're just looking at women in Pan-Africanism. She saw his potential, and she drove him. We have many women like that who are behind the scenes, who drive the men and who will protect them as well. So women have a key role to play in Pan-Africanism. And the more we see of them and the more we encourage them to be part of Pan-Africanism, we will be able to stabilize that unity, because they keep a home together. Sure. And if they always tell you that a home represents the larger view of a country, of a state. You understand? Because if you can keep your home stable, if you can protect the interests of your home, then when you go out there, you are thinking for your people. You know, women are very selfless in that respect.
There have been also recent conversation about repatriations.
Reparations.
Sorry, reparations,
yeah.
Yes. Because a lot of people are saying, well, I had a conversation with someone who said some of the items they are bringing back are not the authentic.
That is, even forget that, that is artifacts. Let's talk about real reparations. How many millions of people were taken from the continent? How they were enslaved and worked for free, right? How they were exploited and killed as Holocaust. Look at what that son of a gun did from Belgium, right? No, because it gets me angry.
People do say no matter what amount is given, it can eradicate that era.
But it can't eradicate his Holocaust, and it will remain a Holocaust like the Jews. So let's call it what it was, a Holocaust. So they got reparations. We need reparations. Why? Because we can't forget that, but when we get the reparations, I think it runs into trillions. I don't know what the figure is yet, but they've been doing some calculations. Some of the reparations committee have been engaged with. And what we do, bring that money back to the African Union and then apportion it for programs, not giving it to any country or any state. Apportioned, we must have a plan, And then also, what do? We use those funds, or just do an accounting. You have us in an IMF trap and a debt. You have us in a World Bank threat and that. We now apportion those trillions against those debt and wipe them off.
Sure.
Wipe them off. It's a simple accounting.
Yes.
Simple accounting. You use the trillions and you put it against the debt you have now put us in. After that, we don't want to know you. We will have our own African bank, right?
That is a very, it's well constructed. I think.
Yeah, no, I've been constructing it because I've been looking at it. I have a clue about something I want to do, but I don't want to expose it yet because I'm going to be telling it quietly to some of our leaders. I just left Burkina Faso 2 weeks ago, and the AES is one of the people I'll tell. I have a formula for them, which will take them out of all these things. But that is just a simple one, but I have a more sophisticated one, where the debt traps that we're in will be eradicated.
Okay. So my very last question, it's in twofold. Should we have a new Pan-African vision, or the one that that is the origin of Pan-Africanism should still be there? And what is the focus for the next generation?
Right, okay. So yes, we must have a new Pan-African vision, because that new Pan-African vision must include, as you said, it must include now the women and the youth. Because the old despots, the old sit-tight leaders, etc., they will come to an end, right? And you need now intergenerational geopolitics, intergenerational, a new look at Africa, because we have now crossed the digital divide.
Sure.
We are no longer in the old era. So now we need to have a new focus. I mean, I'm part of the Pan-African hereditary from, Sylvester Williams, great uncle, what you want to call it, in terms of African, he's Trinidadian. Dr. Eric Williams, another Williams, right? We are all part of that Pan-African legacy. I started very early in Trinidad, being a Black Power activist, Black Panther. So we were immersed in Pan-Africanism. And Pan-Africanism really were Trinidadians who started it. It is Sylvester Williams, it is W. Du Bois, it is CLR James, it is Padmore. These were the founders of Pan-Africanism. So Trinidad has had a significant role to play in forming that former Pan-African vision which they wanted to see. Of course, you had others who joined, like Marcus Garvey and, all the others who have come after. But now we have and must have a new Pan-African vision that is inclusive of the current thinkers of Pan-Africanism, the youth who want and have visions for a better Africa, for the Africa that we want, that we talk about. And they must be inclusive. And let them now lead, because they are the future leaders. At the end of the day, how long are all these people who are in power and what I call sit-tight politicians, because they have no other career. They have no other career. They have to be sit-tight politicians to continue to say that they have some kind of reference. Let now start getting the new, or we may call it the new Pan-African Council or new Pan-African movement. Let the youths take charge. Let the Gen Zs take charge. And they will have a revolution, and they're continuing to have a revolution, because as was said by Malcolm X, the revolution will not be televised. It will be coming from among the people. And that is where we are going to have a new look at Pan-Africanism. And this Pan-African Congress, these are the points that we need to hand over intergenerationally to the new leaders of tomorrow.
Okay. So thank you very much, Your Excellency, for honoring this invitation. I'll probably be coming to the conference tomorrow on Thursday.
Yes.
To be part of the, to witness the other contributions you'll be making on the panel.
Absolutely.
So,
I have a speech, and I'm ready.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So time wouldn't really permit us to go further, but this has been a very...
I'm willing to come back.
Okay.
For part 2. Set up part 2.
All right. So
yeah.
That's great. So we're wrapping up the episode for this week. You can tune in and watch us on every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Remember to be proudly African. See you next week. It's a bye.
Thank you.